All right, welcome to the inaugural edition of the Hunter Baumgardt Sports Podcast. Welcome in, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today, and excited to bring you a new podcast all around Wisconsin sports, really. We're going to talk a lot of Wisconsin sports, some national, but mainly Wisconsin. I did a show at RAQ Radio, UW La Crosse's internet radio station, for about 3.5 years, ended in December because I graduated, and we talked a lot of Wisconsin sports, and I absolutely loved it, and we're going to continue it here. Now, I am still looking for a sports radio job. I'm on the job market myself, but otherwise wanted to keep doing my thing, and excited to do so and talk about all the Wisconsin sports that's going on. There's been so much that has happened since my last show in December for the UW La Crosse radio station. We're not going to cover all that, but we're going to cover what's imminent to Wisconsin sports right now. And that's Christian Yelich signing an extension with the Brewers. We're going to talk about that. So again, I'm Hunter Baumgardt. I work for WKTY La Crosse and a bunch of stations in the Midwest Family La Crosse building there in La Crosse, including KQ98, WIZM, Z93, etc. So I'm excited to kind of broaden my horizons with a podcast. I've never done a podcast. I posted live shows, but I've never done a podcast. So I'm excited to do this. Is something new, and also being on camera, which us radio guys sometimes get a little scared to be on camera. But these days, got Facebook Lives. You got so many things, so many outlets, so many ways to be on camera now as a radio guy that thought that might be interesting to you to watch anything that's going on. There's not going to be much going on. All I do is sit here and tell you the what's going on in Wisconsin sports. Hopefully I'll have some clips along the way and some interesting tidbits as well, and kind of my take on what's going on in the Wisconsin sports world. So let's get it going here. The entire state of Wisconsin on Tuesday, a couple of days ago, when this was announced that the Milwaukee Brewers were going to sign Christian Yelich 7 more years in addition to what he already has on his contract, and this extension going through 2028. I think the state erupted. I think you could hear cheers from miles around. You can see behind me there's the window, and you can see kind of where I live a little bit with the trees and everything. Going to give you a little bit of a taste of the outside. But as well as the Wisconsin sports hats we got behind me. But otherwise, that's if you're watching. Otherwise, if you're just listening, not that I could hear the eruption of fans, but oh my gosh, I mean, radio hosts were immediately talking about it. Brewers fans on social media were going crazy because this is the thing. People constantly have been kind of scared in Milwaukee and in this state of Wisconsin. I'll tell you why. Not many players obviously come to Milwaukee. LeBron never really even considered Milwaukee, right? You had the biggest names in sports don't usually consider Milwaukee unless they're drafted there, right? They're drafted, they're developed there, then they have a little connection, and then they're there. So when Milwaukee gets these sports stars and they draft them or they trade for them, and the player doesn't come here necessarily willingly. Rarely does a player come here willingly and just want to stay for 10 years, right? They traded for Yelich. They groomed him a little more, and boom, he wants to be here for the long term. Giannis, they drafted, developed him, and all he said is he wants to stay in Milwaukee, and that's what we got to believe. So what happens here in Milwaukee or here in Wisconsin, I'm not personally in Milwaukee, but in this state, is we get a little scared that, okay, what if our stars go? Because if our stars go, we can't get another one back, right? There's not another Christian Yelich walking in the door. So if he leaves in a couple of years, this team's going to go way down and go down the tubes. So the idea of that happening is so scary for Brewers fans, and same with Bucks fans for Giannis. And I know a lot of us are Bucks and Brewers fans, so we're scared out of our wits. But when you look at those two teams and you look at how they're able to structure, it's just the fact that Christian Yelich was able to sign this extension and willing to sign this extension to stay in a city like Milwaukee, it tells a ton about this city as a baseball town, right? It's not just, oh, the city's great. It's the baseball city, right? There are tons of passionate fans. The Brewers are in the top in attendance many, many years and have been over the last few years while Christian Yelich has been here because they love their baseball. We love our baseball. I should say we. I'm a part of this. We love our baseball here in Wisconsin, and that's part of the reason that Christian Yelich is staying, right? People come here not necessarily willingly. Braun was drafted, then he stayed for what will most likely be his entire career here in Milwaukee. He was drafted, groomed, fell in love with the city, boom, he stayed. Christian Yelich, traded for, boom, he's going to stay. Most likely, you most likely already saw the press conference today that Christian Yelich was signed the contract. And so, these stars are groomed here and they stay here. CC Sabathia said after, obviously CC Sabathia was a huge part of that 2008 team. He said, I felt like I had been here my whole career, talking about Milwaukee when in 2014 after he went to the Yankees. He said, just from the people in the organization, the players, I wasn't here a long time, but I felt my time here was well spent. It was a good time. These players enjoy playing in Milwaukee. The atmosphere, road players say it, home players say it who come to Milwaukee that say, I wanted to play in this atmosphere. Eric Sogard, for example, has said that he really enjoys the atmosphere here. Many players don't want to leave. I don't think Zach Davies was necessarily happy. I know his wife posted a lot on social media saying, thank you, and we're sad to leave Milwaukee, etc. So these players like Milwaukee. And once you get a taste of that, then things really get interesting and really get to get fun because, like Christian Yelich, many players like to stay then. So I think as a mindset, as a Wisconsin sports fan, as a Milwaukee sports fan, I think you need to think in a different way. The way that the Brewers and the Bucks are going to attract players and are going to attract stars is going to be, they have to draft them. They have to trade for them. They're not necessarily going to lure a huge name free agent here. Now, I'm not saying that Giannis Antetokounmpo can't lure like Anthony Davis here, not necessarily Anthony, but a bigger player during his career only because the NBA does that. They flock to their fellow stars. Obviously, you saw it in Miami, you see it in LA, you see it in OKC, you see it in Houston. It's on and on and on at Golden State, right? You flock to stars. Golden State wasn't necessarily a prime destination before Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson all met there, right? And obviously most of them were drafted, but Kevin Durant went there. So I'm not saying that Giannis couldn't have the same effect in Milwaukee, but what I'm saying is the way that stars are in this state is going to be, you trade for them, you draft for them, and then you sign them to a long-term deal to keep them here. That's what they did with Braun. That's what they've done now with Christian Yelich. And both of these players look like they're going to be Brewers for life, at least Yelich through 2028. And it's going to be like a Braun situation. I think he's going to come. He's going to be close to the end of his career. That's going to be his, 15th, 16th year in the league. He's going to be like, do I want to even go somewhere else? I think Braun's kind of in that state right now. He had an interview with Bill Michaels on the Fan and the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network yesterday and said, I'm just enjoying everything right now. I'm not really looking towards the future. So I think he might be maybe done after this season. And if he is, then there you go. It's kind of the Yelich and Braun doing the same thing. He's handing the baton to Yelich, so to speak, in this city. So really looking at how this extension has gone, it's going to work out really, really well for the Brewers. The money is going to work really, really well for the Brewers. Yelich took a hometown discount. This guy's going to make about $27 million a year. Total value looks to be about 9 years, $215 million. That number could fluctuate, especially when they announce the official numbers tomorrow, or today, I should say. But looks to be about 7 years, $188.5 million. We can say 190 for ease sake, or ease of numbers. The next 2 seasons, he's going to make about 12.5 and then 14 million in 20 and in 21 if the numbers reported a couple of days ago stay. So then it's going to go way up, obviously, to 27 million, which is deservedly so. Yelich is one of the best players in the league, and there's no doubt that he should be paid as such. Now, I was really interested in looking at some of the other contracts because there's been some serious star movement in the MLB. We don't see this all that often. Bryce Harper going to the Phillies, Anthony Rendon going from the Nationals to the Rangers, even though he won the World Series last year with the Nationals. Then, of course, Mike Trout staying in LA, kind of the same idea as Yelich, and getting that monster 12-year, $430 million contract. So looking at a couple of these players, it's not that Yelich is necessarily worse stat-wise, it's not that Yelich is worse by it. I mean, this guy is one of the best, if not the best. I mean, this is the best place. He's the best baseball player I've seen, playing baseball in my lifetime. Now, Mike Trout is probably just as good. I just don't see him on a daily basis, so I can't really, comment on that. Watching Christian Yelich on a daily basis or whenever I can see the Brewers play, that is probably what the LA fans get with Mike Trout. But it's just a matter of Christian Yelich is being right in front of my face and seeing that. So let's compare some of these. So Anthony Rendon signed with the LA Angels just a couple months after winning the World Series with the Nationals. He goes and he takes a 7-year, $245 million contract. That's $35 million a year that Rendon is going to get paid. You don't think Yelich could get paid more than Rendon? Both have been in the league for 7 years. Yelich, better average, 301. Rendon, 290. Home runs, Yelich, 139. Rendon, 136. Very close. Now, Rendon does have the RBI advantage at 546 to 500, but that's compared to $27 million a year for Christian Yelich. That's an $8 million difference. That's a hometown discount, right? Yelich could have gotten more in the open market than Anthony Rendon. Yelich is a better player than Anthony Rendon. Rendon is super good. He's top 5 in the league right now, but he's not Christian Yelich. Yelich would have been better. He would have been a lot better, quite frankly. So, as far as numbers go, as far as money goes, this guy could have gotten astronomical numbers, especially if he would have had a good next 2 years. Oh, I can't even picture. But what this guy did is he took a hometown discount to be in Milwaukee, and for that, he's going to be a hero for years to come in this state, in the city of Milwaukee, in Miller Park. Every time he takes the field, this guy's going to be idolized. And if Yelich doesn't have any scandals during his career like Ryan Braun did, Yelich is going to be the biggest star the Brewers have seen since the 82 years with, the 80s with Yount and Molitor and all those guys. Since then, and he could be number one all time depending on if his career numbers continue to progress the way they have, especially in, he averages about 20 home runs a year if you take it 7 years, but this guy's, went up and up. So overall, I'm thrilled. You should be thrilled. Dreams do come true. According to Reviewing the Brew on Twitter, I saw earlier that they're like, dreams do come true, that Christian Yelich signed this extension with the Milwaukee Brewers. So again, it's becoming official today. Obviously, this podcast goes out on Friday, so you may know that it's official by now. I'm not sure, but either way, Christian Yelich is a Brewer through 2028. Now, I was super excited because I did a little video outside. I don't know if it was funny, but you can see yourself at Hunter B on air on Twitter and see if you think my comic relief of this Yelich contract was funny. Did a little camping. I'll tease it. Did a little camping. But anyway, so Christian Yelich is a Brewer. Otherwise, this is the Hunter Baumgardt Sports Podcast. Hope you enjoyed the first episode. Like I said, coming up, hopefully next week, we're going to get the video rolling, and you can see all the makings and what goes on to make the podcast. Actually, all you'll see is me sitting here with a microphone in front of me with a couple of Wisconsin Badger, Milwaukee Brewer, Bucks, Packers hats behind me. But no, I think it'll be fun for you to at least see what goes on a little bit. And I think people like to watch these days. They like to see content. I think radio is obviously, I think it's not necessarily, and it's not going away at all, in my opinion, because the live aspect is so big, and I think it's you could stream obviously now, and that's going to be big for radio. So nothing to take away from radio, but I think a lot of people like to watch radio as well now with Facebook Lives or Twitch or whatever you have. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'm excited to do it. So basically 1 to 2 times a week, follow me on all the social media pages, Hunter B on air, both Instagram and Twitter, and then Hunter Baumgardt Sports on the Facebook page, and we'll constantly be posting it to both YouTube and SoundCloud. Thanks for listening to the inaugural episode, Hunter Baumgardt Sports Podcast. Talk to you next week, and as always, stay positive.